This is how you get down to our cove. The track runs by our cottage. You follow it to the end, and then there's a path where bracken and brambles and foxgloves grow up so high that you wouldn't find the way unless you knew it. Push them aside, and there's the path. When I was little, I used to pretend it was magic. You go down the path, and suddenly you come out onto a grassy shelf above the cove. You might think you're nearly there, but you're not. Not at all. You have to scramble over the lip of the cliff, then climb down over a jumble of huge black rocks. The rocks are slippery with weed. Sometimes you have to stretch yourself down to the next foothold. Sometimes you have to jump. Sometimes you fall. Connor and I have both got scars on our legs from falling on the rocks. Down, and then you can squeeze between the two boulders that guard the way to the cove. It's damp and dank in the shadow of the boulders, and it smells of fish and weed. Connor and I find long-legged spider crabs there, and lengths of rope and fish skeletons and pieces of driftwood. After you pass between the boulders, there are more rocks to climb across, but you can see the beach now. You're nearly there. The beach. Our beach made of flat white sand. The best beach in the world. You jump down onto it. You're there. But the beach only exists in mid to low tide. At high tide, it disappears completely, and the whole cove is full of the sea. But when the beach is there, you can swim, climb on the rocks and dive, picnic and sunbathe, make a fire of driftwood and cook on it, explore the rock pools, watch the gulls screaming around their nests. Connor and I go there nearly every day in the summer when the tide's right. Sometimes we explore the caves at the back of our beach. They're dark and slimy, and they echo when you call, "Hello, low, low, can you hear me, hear me, hear me?" The air is clammy, and there's a sound of water dripping. You can't tell where it's coming from. You can wiggle your way down narrow passages, but not too far, in case you get stuck and the tide comes in and drowns you. Imagine being stuck in a slimy tunnel of rock while the cold sea curls around your toes and then your legs, and you know all the time what's going to happen, no matter how much you struggle. Keep a sharp lookout when you're in those caves, Dad always tells us. Don't forget the time. The tide comes in fast, and you could get cut off. You have to watch the tide. When the water reaches a black rock that me and Rock call the time rock, it's time to go. Back over the sand, scramble over the stones, squeeze between the boulders, and then up the rocks as fast as you can. No good thinking you can swim for safety. If you tried to swim around the headland, you'd be caught by the rip and carried away. Dad keeps his boat on the other side of the rocks, where it's deep water. When the weather's bad, the waves could smash the boat against the rocks, so Dad has a winch to haul the Peggy Gordon up above the tide line. Dad's always out in the Peggy Garden, fishing or checking the crab pots, or else taking photographs. He takes photos and changes the images on his computer, and he wires text on them. Then they get framed, and he sells them to tourists. So when Dad says he's going down to the cove, there's no reason to worry. Dad would never break his neck on those rocks, and it will be dawn before long. I used to be scared when he was out in the boat and the weather turned bad, but he always came home safe. He knows every wrinkle of the coast. I know every pool of salt water and every creature in it, he says, and it doesn't sound like boasting because it's the truth. One night, but tonight, Mom's worried. "Don't go, Matthew," she says. "It's much too late. Let's go to bed." "Why don't you come with me?" he answers. I can tell he really wants her to come. "Why don't you leave these children for once and come with me?" He says the children's These children, as if it's strangers he's talking about, not me and Connor, as if I'm not even in the room. I hate it. I feel cold again and scared. How can I leave Sapphire in the middle of the night? Asks Mom. What's going to happen? You'll be all right, won't you, Sapphy, if me and Mom take a walk together down to the cove? Connor is only upstairs. I look at Mom, then back at Dad. Yes, I say, in my voice that means no. Mom's got to understand that I mean no. She's too young, says Mom. It's all right, Sapphy. Don't look so scared. I'm not leaving you. Dad flashes with anger. Are we never going to have a life of our own again? He says fiercely. They're not babies anymore. Come down to the sea with me, Jenny. But Mom shakes her head. I feel guilty now as well as scared. I hate it when Dad's angry, and it's my fault this time. I'll go on my own then, says Dad. His face is hard. He turns away. Don't bother to wait up for me, Jenny. Matthew, Mom says, but the door swings wide, and Dad's vanished into the night. The door bangs. Going up to bed now, Sapphy, says Mom in a tired, quiet voice. I go up to bed. There are 2 bedrooms in our cottage. Mom and Dad sleep in one, and I sleep in the other. Connor has the best deal of all. There's a ladder up from my room that goes into the loft where Connor sleeps. Dad made him a window in one end. When Connor wants to be alone, he can pull up the ladder and no one can get in. I get undressed, thinking sleepily about the bonfire and about Mom and Dad arguing. Then I put it out of my mind. I roll into bed and snuggle down deep under the duvet, and sleep comes up over me like a tide. I don't know anything yet. I don't know that this is the last night of me and Connor, Mom, and Dad all safe together. I don't know that the 2 halves of my family are starting to rip apart while I sleep. But I dream about the mermaid of Zinar. I dream that I'm tracing the deep knife cut that slashes across her body. I'm trying to rub it out so that the mermaid will be whole and well again. I dream that she opens her wooden eyes and smiles at me.